open the meeting. Invocation. Please rise. Pledge allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognize a quorum. At this time, we'd like to swear in a new board member, John Van Drit. All right. Mr. Drit, will you please approach the clerk to take your oath?
You can raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible, and I'll let you.
I, John Vandery, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Stallings Planning Board and Board of Adjustments, so help me God.
Here.
John, I'd like to welcome to the Town of Stallings Planning Board and the Board of Adjustments. Thank you. Please take a seat. Sign that. Attendance. Next order of business is the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Next item is the approval of the minutes of January 17th, 2023. Any discussion or changes?
I move that we approve the minutes of January 17th, 2023.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Item 3, training. Conduct of the planning, 2023 Planning Board and Board of Adjustment training. Max?
Hey, everybody. So every March, we're going to bring you a training, probably the same training every March, just to make sure everybody's up to speed, because, you know, things get lost throughout the year. It's kind of nice refresher. Plus, we have a new member, so welcome. And I don't remember if you got the official training, so this is new for you as well. Yeah.
We just threw them in the...
Yeah, we just threw you in here. So I would say, let me just go all the way back to the beginning. I was practicing earlier.
I've got it seems like I've got an extra packet.
Yeah, does anybody want a packet?
I thought that was last week's.
Thank you.
We'll share it down here.
And if that's last week's, then this is not in it. But I would say if anybody wants an additional training, you know, please feel to contact me or Patrick. We'll sit down, schedule a meeting, and we can talk about additional planning board, Board of Adjustment items. I'm going to try to go through this really fast because you did have this as part of your agenda, but please stop me if you have any specific questions about a slide. Okay, so these are the topics to be discussed. So, one.
Sorry, I don't know how to turn this off.
Well, I'll just keep going. So town council, just want to let you know, always makes the final decision. So you guys, planning board, are a recommendation board. So whenever you hear something, you will recommend it or recommend denial or approval to the town council. Board of Adjustment never makes, hears zoning cases, so they don't really make approval denials. It's kind of like a court case. So council adopts and amends the land use ordinance. They appoint members to planning board, and they approve, you know, all the rezoning and text amendments. So they don't administer the land use ordinance. That's staff's role, myself. Appeals of the administrator, that would be you. So if anybody doesn't agree with the administrator, myself's opinion, they would come and appeal to you. And they don't do variances. The Board of Adjustments, you guys, do variances. We do hold Board of Adjustment meetings as an on-needed basis, so we usually only have one a year at most. I don't think we've had one since you started on board. So it's just whenever we get one, you'll know, we'll give you the proper training. So according to 160D, state statute, we are required to have a planning board. So it's a formal board. And if you guys, once you hear an item and you guys, let's say, don't make a decision or want more information, you do have 30 days to make a recommendation. So you will have to either hold a special meeting or have the next meeting within 30 days to make a recommendation on an item. If that 30 days passes, it goes right to the town council, and you guys will not hear the item again. So just want to let you guys know that. So the role of the planning board are pretty much what's in bold. So using the comprehensive land use plan for the decisions, citizen engagement. So I'd like to utilize you, especially for citizen engagement, and carrying out our plans and coordinating in an efficient manner. So kind of making sure that we have a uniform vision for the town, and you guys are administering that.
Excuse me, Max, I have a question about that, not making a decision at the first meeting. Do we schedule a meeting sooner because of that decision?
Oh, no. Yeah, I would say I would probably end up, let's say we had an item tonight and you guys could not come up with a decision or you wanted more information. I would probably end up either scheduling the next special meeting date at that meeting currently, or I would contact you the next day and we'd come up with a date that meets everybody's time frame.
Within the 30 days.
Yep, within the 30 days. And we do have to give a 48-hour notice for any special meeting. We wouldn't be able to have a special meeting tomorrow.
Right.
We have to give 48-hour notice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm just going back to the role of the planning board. So you advise the governing board, which is town council, recommendations for zoning text and map amendments. You exercise functions for the administration enforcement of our ordinances, and you do quasi-judicial hearings. So we are a board consisting of 7 members and 2 alternates. Currently, we don't have 7 full members, so we have all full members right now. We have 6 full members currently. Thank you. Yeah. You guys are appointed 3-year terms. And then the vice chair and chair are elected every year in January amongst yourselves. So, but you are eligible for reelection. So, Mr. Kohler, you could run again in January.
Thank you.
So the chair duties, presides at all their meetings, appoints temporary committees. We usually don't have our little mini committees within this board because we're a mandated board. And you discuss all matters with the planning board. The vice chair duties assumes those if the chair is absent. The chair only votes in case there is a tie, but he does vote in instances where there are 3 members present. So if there's four members, you would do a vote. So the chairman has can direct staff to remove a planning board member if they miss 2 consecutive meetings. But after 3 meetings, the board can make a vote to remove a member. We haven't really been really strict on this, so just wanted to let you guys know that this is a possibility. So I guess role of staff. So I administer and enforce the ordinances, like zoning ordinance, the future land use plan. I talk to the public. I issue permits along with Patrick, give staff reports, recommendations, and do day-to-day duties. So the next thing is administrative decisions. So
What is, when you say minor subdivision, how many lots is that?
up to like 4 or more. So I would say, anything over a certain amount can be major, so I would say 5 lots would be a major, anything up to 4 is minor.
Okay.
So like if one lot wanted to, usually that's what we get is one lot wants to split into 2, that's a minor. And I apologize, I'm going through it so fast, but there's 50 slides, so, yeah. So we do have types of decisions which are administrative. So example are zoning permits for myself and Patrick. Legislative decisions are town council decisions. You guys also do legislative decisions. So example, a map change, like a general rezoning. You would give a recommendation to council on a legislative item. And then we have quasi judicial hearings as well. This is for the Board of Adjustments. So normally when we do have a Board of Adjustment item, we would close our planning board meeting and then we would restart it as a Board of Adjustments. These are kind of like an evidentiary court case hearing. I would say before we have the next one, or if we do get one, I'll make sure you guys have the proper training materials. This doesn't go in as much detail as I'd like. But if we get a special use permit, any variances, which are the most common quasi-judicial hearing, certificate of appropriatenesses, we probably will never have that because we don't have really many historic landmarks. And then appeals of administrative decisions. So if someone doesn't agree with me, they would bring that to you to make a final decision.
Max, going back to the actual meeting for the Board of Adjustments,
Yes.
is there a cutoff time or how long this can be dragged out? I remember we had one a couple of years, 2 years ago, that just seemed to never end. Meeting after meeting after meeting.
I don't
And then it just
remember.
disappeared.
I don't know if there's a specific time frame for a quasi-judicial hearing. I think as long as you're available to hear it, it might just keep going on. I know it goes into a little more detail later in slides about quasi-judicial. But I would say, I remember you guys had that case where it kept going on. I wasn't here, but I would say, let's definitely want to try to avoid that, give you as much information, evidence as possible before we bring you that item.
Because it runs into difficulties because not all members that are hearing the case
I see.
are available each meeting.
Yes, I would say, so once you hear an item as a quasi-judicial board, you are required to come back to hear the item. All the same members must hear that item.
Right, but if they're not, you know,
If they're not
if they're out of
available,
town
then it
or
will drag
whatever,
on,
you know.
yeah. If you guys are unable to come up with a quasi-judicial decision and you want to postpone it to the next meeting, yes, let's say, Mr. Ryan, you were at the quasi-judicial hearing, but we didn't come to the decision, but you couldn't make the next meeting, we wouldn't be able to hear that case. So he would have to make sure that all the members would.
So there's no, in other words, if there's no more witnesses to be presented and the petitioner is just, you know, dragging it out.
Yeah, I mean, it is a kind of like a court case, you know, they kind of get dragged out and take a long time.
Well, the judge can say.
I would say, I would say if that happens, we will have a lawyer present to make sure that we can have that decision made. At this time, what I know is we would probably end up having to have subsequent meetings.
Okay.
But that has never happened in my career. I wasn't here when that happened for you guys,
But
so
it
I
just,
apologize.
you know, the thing was, we met about 5 times and then it just disappeared.
Yeah, probably the
Out and that was the end of it.
person could withdraw their variance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't remember the history. I can pull the case if you want.
No, no,
want me
no,
to know.
I'll leave it. It's dead. It's dead now. It's
Yeah.
finished.
The page before the one we were just on, about the rezoning. Now, whose law is this? Is this the state law or,
What page was it?
well, 17 on
17?
mine. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so,
No conditions can be attached and,
I think it's, what it's referencing is general rezonings.
right.
So, I do believe, I don't know what the specific state law states, but, you can only put conditions on conditional zonings,
Right.
not general. I just don't know exactly what the language specifically says.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just saying, did the town make this law or did the state?
Oh, this would be a state law.
Okay, all right, then we don't need to
Okay.
talk about it.
Yeah, of course. So I'm gonna skip quasi judicial decisions. We'll make sure you have the proper training before we get the next one. So a general rezoning, which is a straight rezoning, is a legislative decision. Any property owner, can request to change their property zoning from one category to another. The town just can't downzone a property without the property owner's consent. We can upzone without their consent, but not downzone. And, no conditions can't be placed on a general rezoning.
What's an upzone?
So I would say, for example, going from residential to commercial would be an upzoning,
What's a downside?
commercial to residential. So I would say reducing your tax value.
Okay.
Raise it, but they can't lower it.
Yeah. So I kind of just went, so you guys, during a general rezoning, are allowed to kind of speak your mind, speak about whatever you want, talk behind the scenes, talk with the developers, you know, things like that. I mean, you're discouraged from doing so, but you are allowed to. And you're not supposed to commit an opinion before you hear the case. So you're not supposed to tell a developer, that's what I'm going to vote. You make your vote at our meeting.
So they can approach us.
You can give them your vibe and say, yeah, I like, let's say you got a rezoning for a higher density residential. You can tell them you either like or dislike higher density residential zonings, but you wouldn't say, I'm going to vote yes or no on your case. So you are allowed to talk about it. It's not quasi-judicial, and it's inexpensive, and it's kind of fast for developers to do general rezonings. So that's why we had some recently in the past year. Disadvantages, I would say, I think the third one's the most prevalent. Current property owner may sell a property to another party, which has different plans for that zoning category. So, for example, mixed-use zoning, they might want to do like a small office, but in reality, they could actually put a whole shopping center in mixed use too. So that's the challenges of a general rezoning. Special use permits. I haven't had one as a planning director here, but we do have a lot of zoning categories and uses that require special use permits. For example, like a gaming arcade, adult gaming arcade use. They would require a special use permit, which is a kind of like a quasi-judicial hearing. What they would have to do is they'd have to prove in their quasi-judicial hearing that they will, there's certain conditions that they meet, and then you guys say, yes, they meet those conditions or not. And if they don't meet one of those conditions, then they don't pass their special use permit. We'll make sure during a quasi-judicial hearing, I'm gonna keep repeating myself, you have proper training for those. Those are a little bit intimidating. I always need a refresher before those as well. Let's go down.
Wait a minute, so, it's quasi-judicial and Board of Adjustments, and then the last sentence says town council.
It goes to
can-
town council as well for approval.
Oh,
for
after-
for just special use permits.
After we do the special use permit, the town council.
Yes.
Got it.
They can deny it.
If it's still evidentiary, they have a quasi-judicial hearing as well. If the applicant can prove that they meet all conditions, they cannot deny it.
Okay.
But it's really up to the applicant to really prove that in a court-style quasi-judicial hearing. So this is important. So you do have to make a statement of consistency and reasonableness for every zoning decisions, for text amendments, zoning, conditional zonings, just not for, you don't have to do it during quasi-judicial hearings. But I did want to let you know that you can make a vote and a statement of consistency and reasonableness all together. So example, you can say, I recommend approval of this text amendment and the statement of consistency and reasonableness because it's, fits the Stallings Comprehensive Land Use Plan. You can put all of that together in nice one neat package if you'd like. Historically, we've been kind of voting on the text amendment and then closing that and then voting on the statement of consistency and reasonableness. You guys are definitely allowed to do that, or you can just package it all together. So it's up to you guys. We, at the end of our text amendment, we accompany it, and a rezoning, accompany it with a statement of consistency and reasonableness. So at the end of those, you see those long pages that say the reason, the purpose, and then a long language. We've already done that for you. So that's the form that we've chosen as staff in the town to make our consistency statement. You'll have 3 of those tonight, so you'll see them. Spot zoning, usually it's the size of a tract, when you rezone from one to another, that kind of triggers a spot zoning. I kind of make sure I talk to our land use attorney before we even bring you anything that you would have a spot zoning on, so you probably will never see a spot zoning. But it's illegal to rezone, one property, like let's say in the middle of a neighborhood, to commercial. That would be called spot zoning. That's an example. So our adopted plans, your position, you're supposed to be helpful guides to help guide the town towards our future land use plan and our small area plan goals. The council has adopted these documents, and it's our job to make sure we try to meet those goals. So I wanted to show you, we have all these different documents. These are just a few examples. These are all online, but this is what I do, my daily job. Like, this is the Greenway Master Plan. Every time I get a development, I open this up and look at every single page. So this is all online. I can share that with you guys. So when you make a decision, it'd be nice to peruse it. It's really interesting. This is our development ordinance. This is what, gets built in town. I know when I go over the quiz in the next item, you guys were asking a lot about text amendments. Some of you didn't know what text amendments to do. Well, if you guys want to go over this with me, I'd be happy to help you, kind of let you know what we bill, what things can be adopted, and what things that we're working towards that we can adopt as text amendments in the ordinance. And then comprehensive land use plan. This is your guide to making decisions. And this is all online. I think some of you already have physical copies. And then if you don't, if you want request any physical copies of any of this stuff, send me an email. Let me know. So that's why I'm going to skip over that. So conditional zonings are the next zoning category. You're probably going to end up getting a lot of these. A lot of people want to do certain developments that don't specifically comply with our ordinance. They want to, do what they want to do, what makes them the most money. So the best option for them is to apply for a conditional zoning, which is a site plan. They have to attach a site plan, and we put conditions on it. So for example, let's say we have a retail development next to a commercial, retail development next to a residential. We could require additional landscaping or more buffers or a fence in between to kind of help preserve our residential areas. That would be an example of a condition on a conditional zoning. But in return, they get to build what they want to do with those conditions in mind. So do you have any questions about conditional zonings? Okay. So illegal conditions, I do want to let you guys know. So you can't, these are things that you can't place on conditional zoning. So like hours of business, square footage, limitations on ownership, exterior appearance. You can do landscaping, screening, outdoor lighting. I don't know why there's question marks on some of them. I didn't create the presentation, but you can do, I know you can do landscaping. If you have any specific questions, we normally will have an attorney for a conditional zoning present.
Haven't we looked at the exterior of buildings?
That's what I was going to say too. I thought we did one.
You just can't do materials.
Oh, okay.
That's what it means. So you can't say you have to make every single house brick.
That goes like Bailey Mills, I think that we were talking
Yeah.
about, where they had to match the other subdivisions.
Yeah, you can make sure that you can, a condition that I would say is avoid saying every single home has to be brick. Just say it has to be in harmony with the surrounding area. That's the condition you can put on there. So a little more vague,
Subjective.
but it is.
I think it's hard.
Or you could say, the exterior, they have to submit elevations with the conditional zoning. You could say the exterior of the building has to match the elevations. I know one of the conditions that was approved on the EPCON developments is they have to put 18 inches of exposed brick or stone on the building facade on the bottom of the facade. That was a approved condition that we could do. You just couldn't say the whole house could be stone or brick.
You'll guide us on that. We
I will
can't
definitely
remember.
guide you on that. And then I would say if you guys have a certain aesthetic that you like, probably want to message me and talk to me about it before our hearing, so I can talk to our land use attorney about it, make sure it's legal.
And so what did you say about landscaping and screening and?
So there's a question mark on this under illegal conditions, but landscaping, screening, and outdoor lighting, I don't know about lighting, but landscaping and screening is definitely legal for conditional zoning.
Okay,
So you could say, I want more trees, more buffer between residential and a higher intensity use.
with outdoor lighting, I'm thinking sometimes gas stations are like, Christmas trees and, you can make them put shields on or something so that it's not.
I would say that definitely could be a condition. Gas stations are required to go through conditional zonings. So if we get those cases, we'll have I know I'm mentioning the attorney a lot, but we just want to make sure that everything's legal that we do. So I probably would run that by the attorney. So it's kind of like a new thing, with the town had needed the use of an attorney recently, so let's just say that. So staff can put recommendations, so I usually will have an assortment of recommendations for conditional zonings for you guys to consider as well, and to make your recommendation to council.
Just going back to the illegal conditions, the signage. Don't we have regulations as far as what kind of signage?
Yeah, we do. In our development ordinance, we have regulations on signage. I think the main thing to note is that freedom of speech you can't inhibit on. So you can't regulate, let's say they wanted to put a sign that said a certain message, we would not be able to regulate that. So you can't say you're not allowed to, let's say, have a sign for a church on your conditional zoning. You can't regulate that because that's inhibiting on freedom of speech.
Politicals?
Political as well.
Right.
So there's state laws associated with those as
Yeah,
well
but
that
I'm
we
talking
can't
about the,
override.
Permanent signing for the signage for, say, a business or something.
You could probably regulate size, just not the message.
And we don't have requirements for that?
We do,
Yeah.
but sometimes, for example, a development might want a billboard sign on their conditional zoning, for example. You could say, no billboard signing, but you just couldn't regulate what they could have on the billboard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I know we talked about the hospital signage there.
Yeah, they had a whole signage plan.
Yeah.
So that was actually, when they applied for that rezoning, the development, they applied for a signage plan. That's a separate kind of package. I think that would be kind of like they get that approved like legislatively in the legislative process.
Yeah, because there are all different types of signage all over the property.
Yeah, you just, you could probably have regulated sign size and how many, just not the message. So yeah, definitely make what makes the most sense for Stallings in the long run. I do want to let you know, conflict of interest, if you guys have a particular connection with a rezoning, a text amendment, any type of application, I would say the best thing is to recuse yourself. This one says readily identify financial impact, but just to be on the safe side, I would go ahead and just say I'm not going to vote for this hearing, of this item.
Does the recusal affect quorum?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
So are you, when it says if you don't vote, you're gonna be, counted as in favor, but that's not talking about when somebody recuses
Correct.
themselves. That's if I just say I don't feel like voting.
Yes, automatically, let's say you sit there, don't make any sounds, nothing, you're voting in approval for every item.
Okay.
So how would that work? Like if you're voting on multiple items and one person recusing, you no longer have a quorum. Does that particular item get shelved then, or?
I would say, if we don't have a quorum, we would have to wait until, it would have to be shelved for the next meeting until we had a quorum. So let's say you had a conflict of interest, and then Ryan also had a conflict of interest that night. There's only 3 members, we'd have to wait for Jackie to come in. And then if all of you have conflict of interest, I'm gonna have to talk to the lawyer. I don't know if that usually happens, so I don't know if that's ever happened before.
Right to the council.
Yeah, it might just go right to the council, at that point. You can't hear it, you've seen the item, it goes 30 days, goes right to council. That may be what actually happens. It's never happened in my career, but I'm not sure.
I just didn't know with the size of the board being kind of
Yeah, I would say I don't think
on the
that was
verge
ever
of quorum on
gonna
a
happen.
month-to-month basis.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through this really fast. I really think that really is the majority of the training. Do you guys have any specific questions? Okay, great. Just wanna make sure you guys are fully trained. We're doing this every March. So, be prepared for it in March.
How about every 6 months? Our memories aren't that good.
We could, if you wanna, you're the chair, you can ask us to bring, you can ask me to bring it.
If that's what the majority, if somebody wants it, then I'll put it up.
You'll want it.
And you said the land use plan, I don't think I've asked you this before, you said, is that posted on the main site?
It is on the website. Yeah, and we can also print you out a copy.
I don't want you to have to waste any paper, but I'll,
250 pages.
yeah, I'll.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
look
yeah,
it
it's-
up. If I can't find it, I'll shoot you an email.
Yeah, we'll send you a link. Make sure we'll send them a link to all these documents so that you guys know where they are. Let's see, what's the next one?
They don't do CDs anymore. It's all flash drive.
Yeah. All right, put it on the flash drive. Agenda. Yeah, the agenda. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, number 4, discussion of the planning board and board of adjustment poll.
Okay, well, I do have the poll up here, so, I just wanted to, let you guys know, the reason we did a poll is because we have a lot of items in the queue. I want to make sure that we are bringing you what you're interested in, what you guys think the town, the future of the town should go. What goals should we focus on? That's why I brought these poll to you. So I appreciate everybody taking the poll. I thank you again. I did want to go over some of the results just really quickly, just to make sure that we know where the whole board stands. I'm not going to give anybody a specific answer, but I'm going to give everybody's common answer. So if there was a majority, I'm going to let you guys know. So what most people are interested in the planning board, a lot of people are interested in community service. They're concerned about traffic. Some of you are longtime residents, and you also are interested in local government. So that was question number 1. What interested you in joining planning board and board of adjustments? And then stop me if you have any questions or want to kind of elaborate on any of these questions, because there are specific reasons why I asked, but you might get some, like an item later on in a few months, like, oh, that relates to the question. So most people were interested in the central part of Stallings. So from Blair Mill to Old Monroe Road, so it would be mostly like where the Independence is. A lot of people are interested in the development of that area, in planning board specific. This is just for planning board items. So a lot of people, their favorite part of planning was kind of like trees and open space and natural areas. A lot of people were interested in that. Multiple people mentioned that. And then the least favorite aspect of planning related aspects of Stallings were traffic, connectivity, and not moving ahead with town improvements. I did want to,
With
kind
what,
of
town improvement?
town improvements. There wasn't any specific, I did see two people mention that, but I didn't have a specific town improvement, so I don't know what they're at, y'all are referring to specifically, but I did want to mention that in case there was something specific that you guys wanted to bring up. Most people are interested in, they're 50-50, split between residential and commercial. You guys were completely 50-50. And then for the type of development you want to see in Stallings, most people chose they want more single-family developments in Stallings and less apartments. So, just make sure, you know, when we get, let's say we get a rezoning or a conditional zoning, this is what your colleagues are majority, this is what they're thinking. More single-family, less apartments. So I just want to throw that out there so you guys keep that in mind, so you're not surprised when someone votes against something or votes for something, you know. Most people wanted a mixed residential. They were for a Waverly type development. They wanted something mixed residential, the majority. And number 7, what type of commercial development would you like to have in Stallings? I think everybody said restaurants. And everybody wants restaurants in town, so.
Not fast food.
Yeah, not fast food, but sit-down restaurants. Keep that in mind when you're making zoning decisions. Let's say for conditional zoning, you maybe have a recommendation saying, we want this to be a sit-down restaurant included in a mixed-use zoning category. That's a great recommendation to bring to council, I would say. Anything that you believe is missing in town, a lot of people said gathering spaces, community spaces. You know, keep that in mind during rezonings as well. Everybody was interested in landscaping, tree safe, and natural space.
Wait a minute, what do you mean by keeping that in mind during rezoning? I mean, we can't
sorry,
make somebody give us a
in
community
a
house?
conditional zoning. You could say for a conditional zoning, someone's not proposing any gathering spaces. You know, you can say, well, you don't have a space for our community in here, like, let's say, a clubhouse. Just for a simple example, you know, you can say, I don't want to vote in favor of that development because there's not a gathering space.
The gathering space for that development.
Yeah, you could also say an overall gathering space, but I'm just trying to make it more relatable with a certain development.
Okay.
Let's see. For landscaping, tree safe, and natural space, the reason I asked this question, the majority of people said yes, is because we're thinking about redoing our tree ordinance, and I'm gonna need your help. So tree save ordinance is gonna come later this year. Historical aspects, everyone said yes. We have a historic committee. When do they meet?
Fourth Tuesday of every month at 7:30.
Yeah, the 4th Tuesday. If you guys are interested in history, I would recommend maybe checking that out. That's the reason why Patrick's very involved in that group, and we'd be happy to kind of.
Juggle between the both of them.
No, just to attend for. Well, we do.
That's what
Patrick juggles.
When I first signed up here, I kind of went with.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting committee. There's lots of stuff going on. They're actually one of the committees that are actually doing a lot. So I mean, any additional engagement, I just want to let you guys know. So number 12, 13 are kind of the similar for transit-oriented development and, oh no, it's just 12, sorry, I apologize. No, 11 and 12. So we do have the silver line alignment proposed, you know, even though it's like maybe 10 to 15 years away, it is proposed to come to town. Guys, majority said yes, and everything that was a yes or no, majority of people said yes. We are writing a TOD overlay in-house right now. I want to get you guys involved in that process. So I'll probably end up bringing you some multiple renditions of the TOD overlay in the next coming months. You guys are interested in receiving more updates on Ullman Road widening and CDOT projects. Definitely that's an engineering question, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were interested in that because it is coming. you guys are interested in Union County Water and Sewer, being more involved, definitely going to try to find ways to get you involved in that. That's something engineering's also working on, but I just want to get your interest on it. You guys are interested in getting updated on the status of the items that were brought to you and then brought to council. You want to know what happened. I would say, I know Jackie's not here, so I'm gonna pick on her. She always asks me, like, right before, she's like, what happened to that item? What happened? What was the vote? What we're gonna start doing is probably bringing you a little mini agenda item saying, this is what council heard, you heard these items, this is what council decided. Just a really brief, quick update, so you guys know what happened. Training, yes, you guys are interested in training. I'm gonna try to give you as much training as possible. We're gonna look for stuff like from the COG, maybe joint planning boards. For number 17, maybe kind of joining other planning boards, kind of getting some training that way. So number 18, everybody was kind of confused on this, so I'm trying to like single everybody out, but you guys were like not particularly know what's a text, what involves a text amendment, what involves, what things that we are bringing towards. I would say you just need additional training on the text amendment. Text amendment is an amendment to our development ordinance. These are things that are built on the ground, things that we regulate as town staff. We have an ordinance that's quickly getting outdated. We got something in 2018, a new ordinance, but we're trying to bring you multiple text amendments every month or every time to make sure we kind of keep these up to date. So the reason I brought this forward is I didn't know if anybody had an item that they see needs improvement. And I'd love to have a one-on-one meeting if you guys want to go over the development ordinance. Just let me know, email me. Number 19, and anything else you would like to add to the survey. A lot of people are interested in road projects, traffic. I would say that's more engineering for sure. Definitely have an aspect of it. We have a TAC and a SWAC. I don't remember what the acronyms stand for, but we have those traffic committees. I would say if you guys have any questions about traffic, any questions about things like that, I can ask our engineers and then give you an update. Or you can maybe guest appearance one of these meetings. Because a lot of people were interested in traffic, and that's not something that we kind of focus on.
When you say engineering, I mean, the engineers decide what the road's gonna look like, but doesn't the town council decide how, if we're gonna widen or, we have a traffic jam in this area?
They definitely have input on it. I would say majority of the roads are owned by NCDOT.
DOT, yeah.
So engineering has their representatives. And let's say I get an engineering request saying, we have traffic in this area, what can we do to improve it? I do know how to do that, but I usually bring that to an engineer because that's their main job to focus on. For council, I would say they do make decisions about the town, do make decisions on town-maintained roads.
Yeah.
But most of them are
Yeah.
inside subdivisions.
Most of them are,
The town-maintained roads are inside a subdivision. We own most of the subdivision roads, not the main
like this road
thoroughfare.
out here? Is
That's
that state?
NCDOT, yeah.
Oh, wow.
If it's a main thoroughfare, the NCDOT owns it
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
I would say 99% of the roads are, main thoroughfares are
We need to go
NCDOT.
visit DOT, go to their meetings.
Maybe, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you guys so that everybody's on the same page about what we're bringing to you, what everybody's voting on, and we have uniform ideas. I guess not uniform ideas, just know whatever people are thinking. Any questions?
A few years ago, you wanted to take, DOT wanted to make Stallings Road a major road, divided. How did that,
so
that died?
So NCDOT does bring their decisions to our town council.
Yeah.
I think what happened is the town council was against that at the time. I wasn't here, but this is what I remember as being said.
Because they were against it, then it didn't happen.
Correct. Yeah. I think the vision of the Stallings Road is, you know, a downtown area. And if they make that a major thoroughfare, that plan kind of dies. So I think that's what the council upheld their vision. All right.
Okay, number 5. TX 23.02.01A to amend Article 2.10-2, accessory structures located in setback to implement limitations on the size and quantity of accessory structures in the town of Stallings.
Yes, so. Yeah.
That was quick, yeah.
So yes, good evening, planning boards. I'm bringing to you all text amendment 2.10-2 to amend Article 2.10-2, accessory structures located in setback to implement limitations in the size and quantity of accessory structures in the town of Stallings. So the reason for the request is over the past few months, the town has received permit requests for permits for accessory structures that oftentimes have not been in harmony in the areas in which they are being built and have been built. Oftentimes, these accessory structures are on the larger scale things and are too large sometimes. So this text amendment is essentially also a way to help mitigate the impervious surface quantities, because with these larger accessory structures being built, this has caused an influx in impervious surface in the town, which could lead to stormwater issues down the road. That's a little bit of the reasoning there. So getting down here to the amendment itself, to 2.10-2, accessory structures located in setback. You have Part A here, and Part A, the language in this is not changing as to what it currently is in the development ordinance. We just reformatted this part of the development ordinance to have a Part A and a Part B, as we added in the second part here for Part B, but Part A is essentially just describing the setbacks for accessory structures, saying how that they cannot be within 5 feet of a property line or within 4 feet of easements or right-of-ways. But moving on down to Part B of this text amendment, where the new language is coming into play, it states there must be a primary structure prior to any accessory structures allowed on the property. Fences, pools, and pergolas are not included, and below is the chart on accessory structures, sizes, and quantities allowed. So moving on here to the next page, for the table here, we have accessory structures, maximum size, and number of structures allowed. So in the left column, we have the lot size. In the middle, we have the maximum footprint of the accessory structure. And all the way on the right, we have the quantity of accessory structures that are allowed on that lot size. So just going over like maybe the first couple here, first few for an example, for a lot size of 0.00 to almost half an acre, let's say that's like in the Brookfield subdivision, for example, somebody could have 25% of the square footage of their home to be a accessory structure. That is the maximum limit, but they cannot exceed 1,200 square feet in total. And the maximum number of accessory structures on that size of a lot would be 1. You guys kind of understand? Okay, yeah. So essentially that is the text amendment. So staff recommends approval of text amendment 230201 because this text amendment allows accessory structures to be more in harmony with the zoning districts in areas of town that they're built in. This allows the town of Stallings to be better able to restrict the quantity of impervious surface within its limits, and it can aid in reducing the number of stormwater runoff issues by managing impervious surface quantities. Now you want me to make a motion to recommend approval or denial? Yeah?
This seems like a lot, like you're talking about a house, like
She
half
should.
an acre to 1 acre, and you have a home at, I don't know, 3,000 square feet. You can put an accessory structure. I mean, that's like another house.
Up to 1,200 square feet. Is that what, yeah, like, is that what you're saying? Like, you could add an additional 1,200 square feet to the existing structure according to that?
No, this is for accessory structures only, so this is separate to the home. So you could have like a shed or a detached garage that'd be 1,200 square feet, but that is the cap limit for that.
Well, that was gonna be my question before she had, is this like additions to the house?
No,
or
accessory
separate?
structures are separate from additions, yes.
So that seems like a lot to me.
That is big, yeah.
Yes, but we went ahead and did research, and this is very similar to like what the town of Indian Trail has currently. So, and we even honed back the numbers that they had, so they allowed even larger accessory structures. So this is something that, you know, we went over it with Mac as well, and Mac didn't think this was a good idea and was in harmony with the
So,
town.
for example, I don't think you could build a 5,000 square foot house on a ground floor on a half an acre lot. But if you did, you could have a 1,200 square foot accessory structure. Now, it does sound ridiculous, but it
It
really
is.
is not something that would be feasible. Most people in a half an acre lot have a 1,000 square foot ground floor level where they can put a 250 square foot accessory structure. That's gonna be the norm. We just have to have a cap.
Yeah, but that, I mean, even an acre isn't that huge, so you have a,
Most of the properties, at least especially, I mean, I live in Cary Greens, and I think I have one of the biggest lots there, and it's only like 0.51. So it's right at a half acre, so I think everything over there, but I couldn't imagine putting something that's
But
1,600.
We currently don't have a cap at all, so they could apply for it now.
Like, I couldn't imagine having something 1,600 square feet in addition to our house, so.
Now, does
Right,
that supersede a HOA requirement?
HOAs are more strict than this. So that would.
Yeah.
There has to be limitations.
but say it's not an HOA, I just have a, you know, an acre and I have a big house, and what are you gonna put 1,500 square feet of
Got people doing
a garage? I know,
garage.
but,
That's what
I'm
I would have,
saying-
is a huge garage, but
you know, it's like, I'm gonna go live in that little garage.
it's not a little garage.
So
but yeah.
things like the appearance of the structure, that would be an HOA function, not,
Kinda.
We do have appearances, so it is in our ordinance, so it has to be in harmony with the primary structure.
Yes.
I'll let Patrick's.
Most HOAs aren't gonna allow,
Wanted to throw in some stuff. So yeah, the HOA does supersede this.
yeah,
Oh, all
they're
right,
not
so
gonna
the
allow.
resident can't say, well, the town's allowing me to do it, so.
Yeah. I don't
then
know.
there's what about like temporary structures? That's outside of this?
Yeah, this is for permanent accessory
So if someone
structures.
bought a shipping container and stuck it in their backyard.
Yeah, that's a different
Yeah.
permitting process that we have in our ordinance that goes through things like that, that are temporary, so.
Does this include, hardscaping areas? Those can get kinda big.
I thought it said those were excluded.
Was it excluded?
Yeah, like things like pools, pergolas, fences, those are excluded from this. This is more so geared toward like actual structures,
okay.
yeah.
So a trailer that's on a foundation,
Oh, that would be like a potential code enforcement issue, because that could, if it's a trailer, then it could be questioning if it was a dwelling behind like a residential home or something like that. So, accessory dwellings is different than accessory structures, like that we're proposing here tonight. So that's a different section that's not being covered by this. This is for, accessory structures that are not, dwellings or
So-
people cannot live in.
So do we
so I
have any
can't
of
build
those?
something
Like,
for my
is there,
mother-in-law, right?
That'd be more so potentially like an addition that would be better for that.
yeah, that's
Okay.
an addition. Are there, like, in the, is there a home on a 1 acre that has a 1,600 square foot something else, a shed or garage? Do we have any in the town?
Not that I know of. I haven't gone ahead and done any sort of research, like picking through individual homes with the sizes of their existing accessory structures. This is something I did research that with the Indian Trail and a few other municipalities, just kind of gauging on what, if they had any regulations like that, and making it more stringent. So I didn't go ahead and research individual homes and calculate the square footage that
I'll
way.
let you know that he showed me what Indian Trail has. This is pretty much what Indian Trail has, and we reduced the sizes a lot.
Wow.
So even though it looks big, I thought the same thing. We almost halved all the numbers. So just gonna give you a reference.
Just seem, I don't know. I
We
just,
currently don't have a limit, so this would still be a start. We currently don't have a limit.
I would assume
Yes.
most HOAs would have a limit or restrictive covenants. What if there's restrictive covenants in a neighborhood that does not have an HOA? Is there? Okay.
Any other questions? I have a motion for or against?
I make a motion to approve. It's consistent with the current comprehensive use plan.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, or have a vote on it?
No. Oh, did you call nays?
Any nays?
Nay.
Okay, 3-1.
I have to do the consistency statement now.
Oh, so.
I know, so just go ahead and, yeah.
Oh, did I mess up everything?
No, you're good.
You just gotta do it.
It's reasonable and consistent with the current, consistent with our current comprehensive use plan. Right? It's not really consistent because we don't have one.
I would just say, statement consistency and reasonableness, 01, to amend Article 2.10-2, accessory structures located in setback to implement limitations to some of the size and quantity of accessory structures in the town of Stallings. It's consistent with the comprehensive land use plan and reasonable to the comprehensive land use plan because of the following reasons. And you can say,
I agree with
As
everything
written.
you just said.
Okay.
so the following reasons up on the board with attached to the plan.
I agree with the following reasons on the board.
Makes the motion to
Was that a motion?
Yeah.
That was a
voted.
I mean, are you
Yes,
done with the
yes, yes,
motion,
yes.
is what I'm,
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Second,
I'll
somebody
second.
second the motion.
you have to call the question.
What question?
So we had a motion.
We have a
we
motion.
Second.
Second, we voted.
We did?
All in favor?
No, on the,
We had to vote on the
we didn't vote on the
Oh, on the-
consistency.
Consistency, yes.
consistency statement. Yeah.
Vote on that?
All in favor? Nay.
All opposed?
Nay.
3-1.
Sorry, the name just.
We'll get it.
Made a little bit, it's fine. Don't worry.
Okay, the next item is TX 23.03.01 to amend Article 9.8-3B1E to allow for trailers and portable offices for the housing of on-site staff management if the trailers are at least 50 feet from the property lines and the lot is at least 5 acres or greater in size.
Okay, so hello again, planning board. I'm bringing to you all text amendment 23.03.01. The reason for the request that you just read is that because this text amendment was brought about by our applicant is here with us today, or representing our applicant is with us here today, for potential property that they are interested in here in the town. The reason for the request is also to help further promote the town's economic development plan by promoting a broader diversity of commercial development in town, such as by allowing for work trailers on the site for management, operation, and security of the site. So the text amendment reads as follows: 9.8-3B1E, trailers, mobile, or manufactured units may not be used as permanent highway buildings unless the property is 5 acres or more in size. Trailers and portable offices may only include an on-site management office to house staff for the management and operation of the site, so long as it is located at least 50 feet from the property line. That is what I have here for the memo. The person representing the applicant is here today. If you'd like to ask him any questions in specific, or if you'd like to say anything about the,
If it's appropriate.
yeah,
Well, we can talk
I have
first.
if there's anything
question
you'd like to add
for
about
staff.
your request.
We'll first let them ask
Yeah.
staff questions.
Sure.
And then
Okay.
bring that.
There-
So Patrick, this is,
Mhm.
these are permanent, over 5 acres, and it's a permanent
Yes,
trailer.
this would be a permanent work trailer based on these specific conditions that
Is
were
this
listed here.
Commercial? Is this?
Yes, these are the zoning districts that this would primarily impact would be industrial, C-74, and business centers. And those are all in the more industrial areas of towns, such as along like closer to 74, Gribble Road, Smith Farm Road, those areas.
Now, this is just for during construction, but, or permanent?
No, these would be for permanent structures, but this would affect 14 different lots here in town. So there's not a great deal of lots that this would have an impact on, so it's kind of scaled down as compared to like something that would affect like the whole town. This text amendment would be for the whole, ordinance per se, but it's only a small area, a small range which would impact.
So why wouldn't we just put this on the site plan? If it's a permanent structure, why doesn't it just,
Well, it's just a current, because that may be a question for the applicant, but they are looking to be able to have these certain types of work trailers to be on site for management and things of that nature.
I'll add to that. The applicant, their use was by right in an industrial district that had 5 acres.
right,
So they are, I think, exceeding the amount of space they have currently at that building, so they want to add a permanent work trailer. Now, the reason staff is also in approval with it is because we're trying to promote our businesses, and this does not affect a lot of properties. What would happen is, I had Patrick kind of do some research on how many properties it's affected. It does affect 14 unless some properties only in the industrial C-74 and business center zoning districts did a subdivision to make it larger than 5 acres in size. There's only 14 that this would fit. So it doesn't affect a lot of properties, but and that's why staff recommends approval. Now, it's up to you guys if you guys see the same thing as us, though.
I just have a question regarding, I know you said we can't mandate the appearance of things, however, can we include something that says that it has to be in harmony with the existing environment? Because I know it's industrial, but I wouldn't want to see like a mobile trailer parked out even in front of a nicer.
I would say that portable office, maybe another line on top of that. If the portable office materials have to be in harmony with the surrounding area.
Yeah, because I think when I hear this, I'm thinking like somebody's just going to drop like a Connex type box, like a shipping container kind of style office trailer, and just sit there for like that. And that just, I mean, I get it's an industrial complex, but still, it needs to still decently nice, well landscaped, and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't want to see something randomly just placed.
Yeah, of course. You can also add a 5-foot landscape buffer around it.
Yeah.
If necessary, because it's not an intense buffer and it does screen it a little bit. We require that on parking lots. So I would say that would be a nice thing.
Like a landscape buffer with and I'm not sure all of the.
So when you make this recommendation, you can say, let's say you like this text amendment, you can say, I recommend approval with the following additions, with the trailer being in harmony with the aesthetics of the area, or landscaping to be a 5-foot type deep buffer installed around the trailer. You could say something like that when you make a recommendation.
So we're saying trailers and portable offices are going to become permanent.
yeah.
In 5-acre
Right.
sites,
Yeah.
an industrial C-74.
So it's essentially saying that it's gonna make it allowed to be, these to be permanent fixtures on 14 different lots in town.
And the only other, let's say, this doesn't pass the county council, the only other option that the applicant has is another text amendment or a conditional zoning.
So these are, it's something that's already built, this industrial, and they just want to add a trailer.
No, they bring it in, they put it on the property. It's kind of like a pre-built, and they bring it, drop it, and make it permanent.
I'll let the
Right.
applicant kind of talk about the business
Well, why can't we change that to pre-built structures instead of portable? You know, it sounds like trailers are portable offices.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'll be permanent for a while and then it'll look like they can take it away at any moment,
Yeah.
you know?
That's why I brought
Yeah.
up the, in harmony
Yeah.
with the surrounding,
If it's gonna go on a foundation or,
yeah.
you know, I,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's.
I'm
an
leery
inherent
of
cost
the,
difference
I'm
between a
leery of the
trailer and
termination,
building something,
the
but-
terms of trailers and portable offices. It's not gonna be a portable office, it's gonna be a permanent office.
Permanent trailer, yeah.
Well, you can have a pre-built house that's not portable anymore, you know?
Yeah, there's like,
wheels
there's
are
a legal
manufactured.
definite distinction between a modular home and a mobile home.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They would have to probably, they would have to put a.
Who determines if something's in harmony? Is that a staff
Yeah, I would say
decision?
it would be
Okay,
me.
okay.
I for sure, I mean.
A lot of power.
For sure agree with the landscaping buffer, for sure.
They don't have to enact it all a lot.
It's just that, to me, trailers and portable offices leaves a lot to be,
Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah.
there.
there's too many different kinds, you know?
Yeah.
And you're opening it up to just about anything.
Would it require like underskirting or would it be exposed wheels, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know,
Module,
we don't go that specific usually in our ordinance
Okay.
anyways, so we don't have a specific on trailers.
Oh, we can on
It's
that.
just such a broad term.
But, yeah,
It's just such a broad term, that could really be a lot.
we don't have it as specific in the ordinance.
yeah, sure. That'd be a pop-up trailer, pop-up camper.
Yeah.
Not saying they would, but,
Yeah.
It could be though.
Not a camper.
I mean, by all terms, it's a trailer, I mean, you know, I'm splitting hairs, but
Yeah.
I think if
Okay.
it's something that's gonna be permanent, it should at least look like it fits with the area that it's
And
in.
it's not gonna be moved.
Yeah, and if it's not gonna be moved, then it should at least.
I think the intent, of the applicant is to put something there that can be moved eventually because it's a trailer and they don't wanna build a brand new building, so I think that's, now you're getting to the point, they just, if you don't like the text amendment, they just make them put a new, a new whole building.
Okay.
So would you all like to hear what the applicant has to say or
Oh,
ask him
that's okay.
any
That's all
direct
right.
questions?
We're all right.
If he has anything to
Oh.
add, sure. Yeah.
You have anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, please. That's good.
Patrick, can I just ask you this? Now, in to amend Article 9.8-3, that's in the industrial area? I mean, nowhere here does it say these certain.
This section of the development ordinance discusses the building lot types on that. So currently, this is the highway building lot type, which is only found in the industrial business center and
Oh, okay.
C-74 zoning district. So it ties in that way.
Okay,
Go
so,
ahead.
but Article 9.8-3B is already covering industrial area. Okay, so it would only fit, we could only do this for industrial. They can only do it for industrial.
Yes.
Okay.
And you are?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Walter Fields. I'm a city planner. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a developer. I'm not a builder. I'm like these guys, and I've
boy.
just been at it a little bit longer than they have. Thank you for letting me add some clarification here, and thanks for Patrick doing a good job of putting this thing together. My client is a company called Catalyst Properties, and they deal a lot in logistics, and they have sites all over the community. I'm working with them on 2 sites in Charlotte. In fact, we had a rezoning in Charlotte last night for one of their sites. And the whole world of logistics is changing. There's containerized freight, there's portable offices, there's portable classrooms for schools, public schools and private schools. They move around from place to place and from time to time. And they own the site at 3400 Smith Farm Road, which I think at one point in time was a Metromont concrete site. There have been a series of open type storage uses on that piece of property for years, as I understand it. And what I had talked about with Max, is they went down to, their tenant went down to get a building permit to put in sort of a portable office. The sort of thing that you could actually store there, is something they wanted to put on the site to just run the site and manage it and provide security and so on and so forth. And that triggered a question about provisions in the existing ordinance. And the language that's in this text amendment, you'll notice there's some darker language. The first part of that sentence is in a little bit darker text, because this is an existing restriction that applies, and it's trailers, mobile manufactured units may not be used as permanent highway buildings, period. That's a standard in the ordinance. And we're not necessarily talking about changing that. What I'd originally talked to Max about was, could we have a provision in the ordinance? And we really originally talked about putting it in a different section of the ordinance, which is section 10.1-36, which deals with outdoor storage, wherever it's permitted in your code, and adding another a performance standard there that basically would say the same thing. Because this is the C-74 district, and the no permanent, no temporary structures as permanent structures is a code requirement. And Max and I bounced this back and forth 2 or 3 times, and it ended up settling in the amendment form that you see it here now. We're not trying to break through any kind of a barrier and create a situation where you would have this sort of a use. Imagine like a construction trailer that you might see on a construction site. This site on Smith Farm Road might very well be a location where several of those would be stored, along with maybe some construction equipment or any number of other logistic type items that deal with the operation of the community and development and construction and so forth. But they wanted to have an office on the site that could have staff members there and manage the flow of materials coming and going and maintain security and so on and so forth. And I believe that triggered the notion, well, that sounds like a permanent building and you can't do that. So we originally talked about just asking for the ability to have an on-site office on this 5-acre site for that purpose. And I think, Max, I don't know if you spoke with your town attorney about it, but it ended up, instead of being in 10.1.36, it migrated over into 9.8-3. We don't really have a preference in terms of where it goes. I mean, I heard the concerns offered here, and we're not trying to create an environment where construction-type buildings become permanent fixtures on a piece of property. That is not how we started out. We simply wanted the ability on this 5-acre site, which is a logistics storage-type site, to have an on-site office. But because it's in the C-74 district, that's prohibited by the current language in the ordinance. And so the problem that I was trying to solve, and Max has been great in terms of helping me work through this, is a means by which we could simply have a small construction-type office on this larger site, and I wrote in here we'd push it back 50 feet from the front property line, so it's not right up on the road, for the sole purpose of the management of that property. Equipment comes and goes, trucks come and go, offices, classrooms may come and go, but at the end of the day, we're not trying to undo the rules that apply to everything else. We simply were trying to create a specific performance standard that could go in the ordinance at the appropriate place that said under these limited circumstances, you would be able to do this. In 10 years, that property may be used for something else. And I've been at this a long time, and I've seen shopping malls come and go. So there's permanent land uses are one of those terms like highest and best use. There's never a real end to that. So I hope that helps clarify it. And if you believe we would all benefit from us working a little bit more closely and tying this language down so it takes into account your concerns of not opening the door to these sorts of things just being stuck all over town. I'm very limited in terms of the number of sites, but I want to erase that concern from your mind so that you feel comfortable supporting this. If you think that would benefit the conversation, I'd be fine with, if you wanted to defer your decision till next month's meeting, and we'll work together and tweak that a little bit. I'd hate to see it get turned down because I really think it's a simple idea that maybe just got a little bit confusing in terms of how it looks in the ordinance. That is certainly not our intention. I've written ordinances for almost 50 years, and clarity is an important consideration. So I'm more than willing to take a little extra time. I think,
28 days away.
I think you're okay with that. And if that is acceptable to y'all, then I would propose that for your consideration.
Can I ask an additional question? Sure. In the wording of it where it says include an on-site, does that mean it's limited to one structure?
That's,
A single structure
Yeah,
per
that's
5
exactly.
acre? Okay.
that's all we would have in mind. And, you know, if someone's got a large piece of property that's within one of these districts where they're building a big building, it's not unusual to see a construction office there.
Right.
I don't know that it, but, and they have to get an electrical connection and they have to get a water connection and things of that nature. And I think, I know your code is fairly new, and I've spent a lot of my career going back and tweaking things, clarifying things, adding things. And this is sort of a part of that sort of a process. We've identified something which I don't think was intended to be, to prevent what we're talking about. It's just that it wasn't thought through at the time. And we've had a chance to think about it a little bit, and we're hopeful that we can come up with language that's clear, that's concise, and that confines this to what we intend for it to be.
So as far as aesthetics goes, like currently, you could take that exact same structure and just park it there and not occupy it, and it would be fine.
Exactly,
So it's basically aesthetically, it's not gonna be any different. It's just gonna be, you'd be permitted to use the structure for the stated purposes.
exactly, exactly. I mean, it just seems to make sense to have on-site management because a site like this can rent space to like one client, takes it all, 2 clients, 10 clients, and equipment comes and goes during the day, and you want to maintain security, you want to maintain accountability, and having someone on the site is really important to be able to do that.
Patrick, I don't expect you to have this answer. 14 properties, is there any possibility for this not to be frontage? Front property line? Is there spots to manipulate this to have it not directly in front of the building?
Potentially, but I would have to do more research into that for you to look at.
I'm still thinking, you know, either landscape buffer with some kind of green fencing, not necessarily fence, but like some kind of greenscape to like hide this, but also maybe keeping it away from road frontage altogether. If it would even allow, because I know some of these buildings might be pushed all the way to the very back, so that may not even be possible.
That's why I wrote it, the original draft, and what we originally talked about was to have it not be right up on front. It's got to be at least 50 feet back off the front property line. And all of the other normal development standards in the code apply anyway, fencing and buffering and things of that nature, just like anywhere else in town. I mean, if it's required here anyway, having the ability to have this building on the site that can be used while it's sitting on the site as opposed to just sitting on the site, doesn't change any of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Any
much
other
for your time.
questions before he leaves? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion?
I'll do the motion. I move that we recommend to the town board that they pass this article, pass this amendment, Article 9.8-3B1E, with the addition of, they would need to have 5-foot landscaping around this trailer, and the trailer would need to be in harmony with the environment. It would need to be compatible with the other buildings on the site.
Second.
Wait, should I do this with it? Are we allowed to? Okay. And we're doing the statement of consistency and reasonableness. as written. As written in the thing, Mary.
I'm just trying to think, what you mentioned, does the underlying zoning already require the conditions we were talking about adding to this? No, okay, so there is no landscape requirement or anything already, okay, okay.
Do I have okay, do I have a second?
Landscaping.
I'll second.
Any discussions? About the motion? Have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you very much.
We'll talk about some more amendments to, before we bring it to council.
No, I'm just disgusted. She hit what
okay.
what I was thinking. I don't think we could have added any more
So-
to it. Disgusting for
I
another
mean,
month.
I think if you could already park it there,
Well,
I mean, it's not gonna look any different.
once the motion
Yeah.
and the second motion, you do have a time for discussion, you know, to change the motion.
That's what I was just thinking. Like, there's nothing I could add to what she said. That's exactly what I was thinking, so.
Well, make sure to talk to the applicant. We'll get together. We'll make sure we have a good recommendation for you guys to bring to council. I'll make sure to incorporate your
Okay.
recommendation, that's what I mean.
Now, will you bring this back again once you guys, no, this just goes from here, okay?
You'll just tell us what the council did.
Yes.
Okay. Number 7, TX 23.03.02 to require conditional zoning for single-family residential uses in the mixed-use 1 and 2 zoning districts.
Yeah, so this is the last thing, I'll try to wrap it up. Normally, the planning board doesn't last this long, but we didn't have a meeting last time, so we had some items that we needed to cover. So this is TX 230302. The council asked originally, we brought some different methods to incorporate mixed uses and mixed use 1 and 2. We have 2 zoning categories, mixed use 1 and 2, that historically have been brought for just one single use. Most people are using it for either just residential, mostly townhomes, or some type of commercial, usually only one use. So council kind of directed me to kind of come up with some solutions, and the most immediate, fastest solution that we came up with was to require conditional zonings for single-family sites in mixed-use 1 and 2. So now all residential uses in mixed use 1 and 2 would now be required to go through a conditional zoning. So, this is what the text amendment says. For example, someone couldn't just build a single-family house in mixed use 1 now. They have to do a conditional zoning, with this text amendment. And it gives us more flexibility, the town council more flexibility to do, mixed uses on the mixed use 1 and 2 site, besides just one use for residential. It doesn't apply to some commercial sites, though. There are a lot of commercial uses are allowed by right in mixed use 2 specifically. Do you have any questions?
So how would, going through conditional rezoning, how is that gonna, then we can say, okay, put a bakery or something in there?
Yeah, so I think council's main concern was just residential uses. So that's why we put the conditional zoning on the final piece for single family. So now, let's say someone came to the town and wanted to put a single family housing development on mixed use 2. During the conditional zoning process, one of my recommendations would be to have multiple uses on the site. So you would have to have some commercial component along with the single-family residential. And if, let's say they don't want to do that, that's really up to the prerogative of the developer. But then during the conditional zoning process, you guys can vote to recommend denial, town council can deny it, if they don't want to do that mixed-use component in mixed-use 2. So
that
this
include-
allows us flexibility.
Does that include offices?
Office uses are allowed by right. Most office uses are allowed by right. For example, like general contractors aren't, but, like a dentist office would be. Just allow just more
Any-
flexibility.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we recommend approval to the town board on TX 23.03.02. Oh, yeah.
You'll get used to it.
I love this part. And we also recommend the statement of consistency and reasonableness as written by staff. And put approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I think that's it.
I think we went this long because we asked a lot of questions.
Well,
And I think that's very important.
I do think it's important. Plus, we didn't have a meeting last month. We didn't hold it, so,
Obviously, we didn't have that many questions asked, you know?
no, I appreciate
years
the
past.
questions.
Yeah,
I think the training kind of, incited some questions, right?
It
And I
should-
think
yeah.
that's the point of the planning board
Yeah,
is to
absolutely.
kind of be involved about the decision-making
rubber
process.
stamp everything you bring up.
Exactly.
You know? Okay, I move to adjourn.
So, yeah, they vote, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
You adjourn.
Can we get a first, you can't vote, sorry.
Wait,
Can we get a motion to adjourn by someone else, I guess?
She did.
Okay, so Lori did.
said that.
You second?
Seconded.
He seconded.
All right, just making sure.
I didn't vote.
Just
I
to make
did
sure
not
for the